Roxanne pressed on about companionship, but I turned the focus to Henry and Wendy, whose concern felt disingenuous. Henry's facade crumbled, revealing his demand for money under the guise of health concerns. My laughter exposed his manipulation. Suddenly, police officers arrived, prompted by Melissa's accusation of trespassing. As the officer ordered them to leave, Henry made a counter-report claiming I owed him money. Would the police side with the indignant father or the seemingly unburdened daughter? And what future awaited the children caught in this escalating conflict? The police officers exchanged bewildered glances, their hushed murmurs echoing in the tense silence. Who exactly placed the call? One of them muttered, his gaze shifting between Melissa and Henry. Before Melissa could answer, Wendy launched into a fresh wave of theatrical tears. Now that you're here, officer, you have to help us. Henry and I are her parents, but she refuses to acknowledge us. This family has robbed us of our daughter. The leading officer, a tall, imposing man with a sharp, decisive air, frowned, his gaze returning to the Andersons. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice firm. I didn't answer immediately. My attention was fixed on the officer in charge, Captain Ford, I guessed. One of the officers behind him started to speak, his tone conciliatory. "Captain Ford, I think this might just be a family matter, something that could be resolved with a simple conversation." But Captain Ford cut him off with a fierce frown, silencing him instantly. "Officer!" Henry boomed, his voice filled with righteous indignation. "Don't you think children have a fundamental obligation to provide for their elderly parents?" Ford pressed his lips together, his gaze unwavering. "Yes, they do." Henry pressed his advantage. "My own daughter is flagrantly disregarding that obligation. She's playing games with her mother's accounts, disrespecting me and her stepmother. We can't simply walk away from this. We need to sort it out. Don't you agree that we should stay here until this is resolved?" Ford's gaze flickered back to me, his expression unreadable. "Yes, it would be better to resolve this quickly." Henry pointed a dramatic finger at me. "She's my daughter, but she refuses to even acknowledge us anymore. What should we do about this, officer? What's your recommendation? Do we need lawyers? Does she need counseling?" Ford pressed his lips together again, his sharp eyes scrutinizing Henry. But he made a point of turning to me, his voice direct. "What do you have to say about this, Miss Smith?" I couldn't help but find Captain Ford's unwavering seriousness a little strange, almost theatrical. I lowered my gaze, my voice calm and steady. "It is only right for children to provide for their parents." Henry let out a relieved sigh. He clearly believed the police presence had finally intimidated me into compliance. I would have to help him now. Wendy, equally relieved, offered a saccharine smile. "That's wonderful to hear, Nora." Even Roxanne seemed pleased, sensing a resolution to her live broadcast drama. "In that case, why don't we all have a seat and talk about how Miss Smith, as their daughter, should provide for her parents?" she suggested, her voice smooth and persuasive. Henry and Wendy exchanged a triumphant look and started towards the door. Wendy even offered Melissa a smug smile. "This is obviously the best way. You should have seen this coming. Why were you so aggressive with us yesterday?" But then I stepped forward, blocking their entry into the house. A slow, mocking smile curled the corners of my lips. "The two of you can't go inside." Henry and Wendy recoiled, startled. Even Roxanne looked dumbfounded. "What are you doing, Miss Smith? You just agreed that children should help their parents." I cast my eyes down, a deceptive air of contrition in my posture. Children should indeed provide for their parents. But why should I provide for people I'm not actually related to? I kept my gaze down, refusing to waste any more breath on his lies. Instead, I opened the electronic DNA test report file on my cell phone and held it up in Henry's face, the bright screen illuminating his shocked features. Henry stared at the report, his eyes wide with disbelief. He remembered the casual pat on his shoulder yesterday. I could have easily collected his hair then. But he couldn't fathom why I had suddenly gone behind his back for a paternity test. What had made me doubt our relationship? He knew he needed to discredit the results to undermine their undeniable truth. "This report is fake," he yelled, his voice shrill with desperation. "It's definitely fake." Fake. I shook my head slowly, a small, almost pitying smile touching my lips. Instead of engaging in a futile argument, I turned to Roxanne, holding up my phone so the screen was clearly visible to the camera. "Roxanne, you're a reporter, so I'm sure you've seen your share of things. You've heard of Z&S DNA testing lab, right?" As soon as Roxanne's eyes focused on the lab's unmistakable logo, she shot Henry a look of dawning suspicion. Back at the hospital, Ian had been watching the live stream closely the whole time. He suddenly got excited. His mind whirled. If she wasn't Henry's daughter, then who could the father be? He stared at the ceiling. There was only one thought in his mind. Is that my daughter? For the first time after years, Ian Smith had a ray of hope. Was Nora really his daughter? Will Nora ever find out who her real father is? How will Justin react to all this drama?
Hi, Nora here. If you are wondering what happens next, then download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Saving Nora Now with the link in the description.